What's up everyone, FPL Harry here. It is time, double game week 20. Let's have a look at my team selection. What's up everyone, FPL Harry here. Game week 20, team selection time. Looking at any confirmed transfers, anything potentially I'm going to do. We're going to talk about the double game which we've had, any potential news that we could get between now and the game week 20 deadline. Of course, it is a deadline on Friday evening. Do not get caught out with a slightly earlier deadline that is not on Saturday morning. Before we look ahead to game week 20, a quick review of how I've got on so far in game week 19. Of course, I'm recording with one game still to play. We still have that Fulham against Chelsea fixture, the finals, the sort of double fixture in game week 20. I still have Mason Mount and Kepa still to play, hoping for some points, hoping for something to claw me back closer to a green arrow, because I am sat on a red arrow, having used both of my free transfers this week as well. It's not going well for me. When we look at my transfers so far, things have not gone well, basically. But we'll talk about that in a minute. This is my game week 19 score. It's okay. It's a small red. I brought in Luke Shaw this week though, and I brought in Mitrovic. So two transfers that tend to do pretty well. Both of them actually scored. Of course, Mitrovic picked up his yellow card, so he's suspended. So he doesn't actually have the double game week, which is a bit of a pain. I basically shouldn't have used that transfer, but I did take the gamble that he was going to play. In midfield, Marcus Rashford continues to score. Some of you might even be considering captaining him in double game week 20, an option that I really like in him. We did see blanks from the double Arsenal midfield in both Martinelli and Saka. Hopefully something from them to come in the next game week. Haaland, of course, blanked. Again, the Manchester City highly owned assets like Cancelo, De Bruyne and Haaland not getting anything. It was Mahrez and Grealish that got those returns. So I was quite lucky as a Chelsea fan, well, that we didn't get completely pummeled, and actually as my FPL team didn't get completely destroyed as well. So it's a small red arrow down from 14k to 18k. It could have been a lot worse. I did leave Ben White on my bench. I should have started him over Cancelo. Manchester City did keep the clean sheet, so I was right in theory to predict that, but Cancelo, of course, getting hooked at halftime. So just before we go any further, the double game weeks, of course, the big talking point. There are 4 teams with a double in game week 20. You've got Manchester United playing Crystal Palace and Man City. Man City playing Spurs and Manchester United. A quite difficult double on paper there for Manchester City. Crystal Palace against Manchester United, and then Chelsea as well, and then Spurs against Manchester City and Arsenal. Some quite difficult double game weeks there. Manchester United really the only team with an easy fixture in there, you'd probably say, against Crystal Palace. Then, of course, we have the doubles confirmed in game week 23 with Manchester City playing Arsenal and Aston Villa, and Arsenal playing against Manchester City and Brentford. There could be other double game weeks being announced before the game week 20 deadline in both game weeks 21 and game week 22, which seems to have been rumoured. We've had an article from Manchester United writers saying that there could be a double of Manchester United and Leeds going into game week 22. Chances are these should be announced before the game week 20 deadline, if they are going to be announced at all, but we don't necessarily know if that news is going to come. So do hold your transfers, unlike me, stupid me, hold your transfers until right up until the game week 20 deadline, because we might get announcements even as late as 6 p.m. on Friday evening. So what went wrong basically with my transfers? It could pay off, it could work out. I had the exact money in the bank before Kane was predicted to rise about 3 nights in a row. He hasn't rised at time recording. Again, I'm recording during that Manchester City versus Southampton Cup game on Wednesday evening. I sold Cancelo and I brought in John Stones. Now, John Stones is nowhere to be seen in the Manchester City squad. We've also heard that potentially he has a slight lack of fitness. He's not fully fit is basically what's been said, which has not worked out well for me. I need him to play. I brought him in because I didn't think Cancelo would play both in the double. Cancelo does start in the cup, so I still don't think he'll start both in the double, but if John Stones misses the double completely, it will be an absolute fail of a transfer and set me back so many positions. But the transfer that allowed me to do was upgrading Alexander Mitrovic all the way up to Harry Kane as a -4 transfer. As you can see, it left me with absolutely no money in the bank. So one transfer to free up the money, which hasn't gone well with John Stones, but the other transfer, still happy having Harry Kane for the double. Of course, I don't have Kevin De Bruyne in my team. One of the transfers that I might still do, but I've already taken a -4 here. So I've already taken a -4, but there are a couple of other potential transfers that I can make. Now, things might change if we do get doubles being announced in game week 21 and 22. I personally don't see them coming. I think it's quite late in the week. They want to give fans as much notice. I am guessing here, but I think it's quite late in the week for them to be announced. There's a small chance, of course, they still come, of course. The 2 transfers I'm eyeing up, these will wait right until the deadline, of course, because they do depend on potential doubles in game week 21 with the players I'm selling. Salah could leave my team to Kevin De Bruyne. Is this worth a -4? The more I look at it, I think it's probably not worth a -4 given the fixture that Salah has this week. I can always make the move next week or in game week 23 when there is that second double for Manchester City, where they of course play Arsenal and Aston Villa in that one. The other fixture and the other transfer that I could do is Mason Mount out and bringing in Riyad Mahrez. Mahrez is a punt. Mahrez is a player that has burnt so many of us in the past. Do I want to do it again, especially with the likes of John Stones in my starting 11, who doesn't look like he's going to get any minutes that well. He doesn't look like he's going to get that many minutes in the double game week. Mahrez isn't starting in the FA Cup game tonight. That means for me he should start the weekend. And if he starts 2 of the next 3, so 1 in the double and Wolves at home, that's okay for me compared to paying the price for Kevin De Bruyne. Mahrez and Salah versus Mount and Kevin De Bruyne. Which would you prefer? For me, Mahrez and Salah is a better combination just because I don't like Chelsea at the moment. They're not performing well. As much as sat here in my Chelsea shirt, I hate saying it. Owning Mason Mount, owning Chelsea players at the moment is a painful own. So I am eyeing up that Mason Mount to Mahrez move for a short term. Then potentially I can look to go Kevin De Bruyne later on if Mahrez is then a failure. But I do think at his price, he could be very nice at 7.5 million. So looking at my lineup for game week 20 as it stands. So I have made those 2 free transfers. John Stones will start for me, even if there is a slight doubt about whether he's going to play. Harry Kane has also come in. Harry Kane has been given the vice captaincy. Erling Haaland is captain for me at the moment. It is not a triple captain. There is a lot of talk at the moment about whether you should be playing your triple captain on him. Now, he hasn't played in either of these cup matches, so he has had a big break along with teammate Kevin De Bruyne, which means not owning Kevin De Bruyne is a bit scary for me going into this week, I have to admit. But there is a chance I own him. There is a chance I go to Mahrez. There's a bit of a differential in there as well. Mahrez performing very well at the moment. So Haaland is my captain. I don't think I'm going to triple captain him. I like the doubling game week 23 a lot. There's also a good chance they double again later in the season with 2 much easier fixtures than they've got in this double. I wouldn't put you off because he's capable of scoring against anyone. He's had a nice rest. He also blanked in the last week. The chances of him blanking sort of 2 weeks in a row, especially with a double, is very, very slim. I imagine he will get something in this one, but I don't necessarily think it's enough for me to be playing my triple captaincy chip on him. Elsewhere in my lineup, Shaw starts with his double, Trippier in there, Stones. We've gone with Kepa still over Danny Ward. I just don't love either of them, so I have gone with the home goalkeeper in Kepa. Again, both of them are not defending very well at the moment. In midfield, of course, we've got double Arsenal. They are away at Spurs. I don't love having double Arsenal, but I think going forward, they're good picks, so I'm going to hold on to them for now. Marcus Rashford in there with the double, likely to have high ownership and likely to have a decent amount of people captaining him, of course, after he scored twice in the FA Cup off the bench as well. So if you're considering Marcus Rashford as a captain, go for it. I don't think it's good enough for me. He does have 1 good fixture, though, whereas Haaland, in theory, has 2 difficult fixtures. So this is where we're at. Mount to Mahrez is probably the transfer that I'm looking to add on to this. That would put me on -8. I would have no Kevin De Bruyne. I'd be on a -8. And I have John Stones also, who's going to be yellow flagged as well. Things have not turned out how I thought they were going into game week 20, basically. But we can hope. We can hope for a little bit of upside. We can hope for things to turn around between now and the deadline. We can hope for a little bit of luck to be on our side going into this double because it's not looking great for me. I think we can all agree on that one. But let's see how it goes. Let me know any questions about your team. Let me know any comments about my team as well. What would you do? Would you do Salah to De Bruyne? Would you do Mason Mount to Riyad Mahrez? Would you just hold and roll and not go for the extra hit? Let me know what you do in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching. We're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. Smash that subscribe button, like the video before you go, and I'll be back again very soon.